Ready, Andy? I'd like to call the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of June 17th, 2019 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Ross.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
O'Brien. Balmas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
Thorstensen.
Here.
5 present. 1 absent.
And Trustee O'Brien did let us know he'd be gone. He's in a very tropical place tonight. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item for tonight is approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
Motion carries. Patrick, please read the consent agenda into the record.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the June 3rd, 2019 meeting. Item number 2, approval of Fleet Administrator's recommendation to purchase 2019 Ford Fusion SE from Gillespie Ford at a price of $24,660.70. Police Detective Unit 164 Governmental Purchasing Program. Item number 3, approval of Fleet Administrator's recommendation to purchase 2019 Dodge Grand Caravan SE from Ray Dodge at a price of $26,987. Police Detective Unit 173 Governmental Purchasing Program. Item number 4, approval of payroll for period ending June 7, 2019 in the amount of $882,383.37. Item number 5, approval of bills for period ending June 17, 2019 in the amount of $3,557,421.80.
Thank you, Patrick. Do I have a motion to
So
approve? Motion by Trustee Garner, second by Trustee Ross. Roll call, Andy.
Sorry. Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries. We'll move on to petitions and communications. The first is approval of a proclamation designating July as Parks and Recreation Month in the Village of Gurnee. Parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the Village of Gurnee. And the award-winning Gurnee Park District provides parks, recreation facilities, and programs for residents of all ages through multiple facilities, 400 acres of open space, and over 28 parks. And our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. The Village of Gurnee recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore I, Christina Kovarik, Mayor of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim July as National Parks and Recreation Month in the Village of Gurnee and encourage residents to take advantage of all the wonderful activities and amenities offered by the Gurnee Park District. Hopefully we'll have some better weather by July. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion by Trustee Thorstensen, second by Trustee Ross. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's Parks and Recreation Month. Our next proclamation is recognizing and congratulating the Gurnee Women's Business Association on its 25th anniversary. The Gurnee Women's Business Association is a nonprofit organization of professional business women of various occupations who live or operate a business in Gurnee. And the GWBA works to support and accelerate women's business ownership and strengthen the impact of women on the local economy by creating jobs, fueling economic growth, and improving the community. And the GWBA empowers women by providing resources, professional networking, information sharing, and support. And the GWBA has provided volunteer services to area residents with annual events such as the Clothing Drive, Health Fair, and Blood Drive. And the GWBA will commemorate its 25th year of service on Wednesday, June 19th at the Chocolate Sanctuary in Gurnee. Now therefore I, Christina Kavarik, Mayor of the Village of Gurnee, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Gurnee Women's Business Association for the contributions it has made to the Gurnee community during their 25 years of service. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Garner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And Trustee Balmas will be representing the Village of Gurnee and presenting this proclamation at their dinner on Wednesday night. Thank you, Jeannie. All right, tonight is very exciting. We get to honor some of our staff, our public safety officers, for going above and beyond in protecting this community. I believe Chief Smith, I think that's the first time I've gotten to say that. Chief Smith and Deputy Chief Gonzalez will walk us through it and introduce the winners, or the awardees. Thank you, Mayor. Not winners.
Mr. Mutz, Village Board, thank you for having us and giving us the opportunity to stand before you tonight. Every year, once a year, we try to come in front of the Village Board and the residents and share the importance of traffic safety to the community and the reduction and the hope that we get for the reduction in traffic crashes because of it. And so tonight we have our department awards related to traffic safety. We have some officers that are here. We also have some officers that were unable to make it. And then following those awards, we have some representatives from the Allegiance Against Intoxicated Motorists that are here to come up and issue some AIM awards for DUI, career DUI arrests. So first and foremost, the Gurnee Traffic Safety Awards are issued to officers who demonstrate dedication to traffic safety by leading the department in both speed enforcement and occupant restraint enforcement. This year, we're glad to recognize 3 officers. Detective Matt Bendler. Matt, if you could come forward for us. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Please stay up here. Thanks. Officer Marcion Buter. And Officer Mike Stoner. Thank you. Nice job, Mike. Thanks. All right, if the representatives from AIM could come up for us, please. Thank you. First officer that's receiving the AIM Intoxicated Motorist Award is Officer Mike Lambert. I'm going to read you the letter that accompanies each, I'll just read the letter once that accompanies each award. Motor vehicle crashes continue to represent one of the single greatest threats to safety and well-being of Americans. Of these crashes, alcohol-impaired drivers are annually responsible for a significant personal injury and loss of life. The Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists wishes to commend you for your exemplary performance in the area of DUI enforcement. Your efforts in this critical area of concern for public safety serve an example and inspiration to others in the law enforcement community. It is our sincere hope that your commitment and dedication to highway traffic safety will continue into the future. And Officer Lambert is receiving his award for 25 driving under the influence arrests. Nice job, Mike. The next 2 officers were not able to be present. but we would like to mention their names. Officer Dan Ruth, who's receiving his 50 driving under the influence arrests pin, and Officer J.R. Nasita, who's receiving his 300th DUI arrest pin. Officer Nasita is also receiving his 10th Village of Gurnee DUI enforcement pin for 20 DUI arrests in 1 year. So thank you.
I would just like to make a couple of comments for the officers. I'm in court a lot. I'm a court monitor, and I watch these officers testify, and I know how many hours of work they put into a DUI arrest. I don't know if you realize that these are the frontline guys. They're on the road saving our lives by making all these arrests, because each one of the people that they arrest could possibly hit you or hit somebody along the way if they hadn't been stopped by this officer that night. So please be kind. When they pull you over and ask you for your license, please don't give them a hard time. Realize they are there protecting all of us and keeping us safe. So thank you so much for all the work and the hours and the dedication, the days and hours that you do keeping the road safe for all of us. Appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Before you scoot off, on behalf of the village board, I want to thank all of you too. Wise words. Myself and the board, we realize every time you make an arrest, you are probably saving some child's life, our life, a family's life. So it's really important. And I can tell you, you keep making those good, solid arrests, and we will keep prosecuting them in court, so it's well worth your time. Thank you. Makes you really proud to sit up here when you see what outstanding officers we have. Okay, we will move on to reports, which we don't have any tonight, right?
No, just a heads up, we will have a committee of the whole on Monday. So we've got some financial topics to discuss. So we'll be listening to our finance director, Brian Gosnell, most of that evening.
You make that sound like it's not fun.
It's good stuff.
It is fun.
It is.
All right, do we have any old business?
No.
All right, then we are going to move on to new business. The first item is approval of ordinance 2019
44.
44, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency and the Village of Gurnee to fund additional ambient air sampling for ethylene oxide. So Pat can give you some of the background.
Sure. Mark Pfister, Executive Director of the Lake County Health Department, after we approved our IGA with Waukegan and the Health Department to conduct some ambient air sampling related to ethylene oxide, reached out to the IEPA to see if he could secure any funding from them to extend the air sampling period. IEPA came back with $125,000 total to be split between the Village of Gurnee and the City of Waukegan. They put together a pretty simple IGA, two-page IGA that was included in your packet. We were hopeful that we would be able to keep the 30 days rolling that we currently have going with the testing. However, both Medline and Waukegan are undertaking some improvements at their facilities to continue to reduce any ethylene oxide emissions. So there is a clause in this agreement. Basically, the way it'll work is the funds from the IEPA can be used for continued air sampling after permitting and improvements have been approved and installed by Vantage. So they need to get the IEPA permitting in place, need to get the improvements in place, and then we can use the funding from the state to conduct that additional sampling. So the IEPA believes that these permits will be issued within 90 days after the effective date of this agreement, which will be this evening. We're hopeful that it's sooner than that, but they just want to make sure that the funding they're providing is sampling air after these additional improvements are in place. So as we know, Advantage has been working hard. They've got the second scrubber in, that's up and running, but there's some small additional improvements that they're working through the process. So the state's fiscal year ends on June 30th at the end of this month. So they were looking to get this approved, get the check to us. The health department will continue to administer the air sampling as they're doing right now. Our obligation is, once the money is spent, to provide documentation to the state that it was spent on air sampling. Talked with the finance director. The provisions in there are easy for us to meet. Brian, myself, health department have all looked at the IGA. It's pretty straightforward. So we're recommending your approval. Once it's approved, we'll get it back to the state and they'll cut us a check. And then once we get the okay from them to continue sampling on their dime, we will do that.
Any questions for Pat? All right.
Make a motion.
Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please, Andy.
Ross. Garner.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries. Move on to ordinance, approval of, item number 2, approval of ordinance 2019-45, approving an agreement for architectural services from FGM Architects related to the planning of a new fire station.
Sure. So the next two items on the agenda are both related to our progress towards fire station number 3. The first one deals with architectural firm to assist us. Second one is related to some traffic studies that we need to have taken place to continue to move this forward. So I'll let Chief Kavanaugh kind of run you through this. You had a memo from him on the architect, memo from David on the traffic consultant.
Kind of building on where we left off at the budget, we went ahead and took the first steps. We put a committee together of village staff and fire department staff. We used village employees that have been involved in the previous buildings that we've built here in Gurnee, and then fire department specific staff to look at the responses and what kind of needs we need there. We interviewed 3 firms. All 3 firms were excellent. We really narrowed it down to 2. We went ahead and did some phone calls and interviews with references, and it came down, it really seemed like either one of the top 2 we picked we were very comfortable with. We ended up leaning towards FGM. They currently have a couple projects going on in Lake County, and they just finished a few projects. We're very impressed with the what people had to say about them, as well as we felt very comfortable working with them. Whoever we picked, we felt we have to be partners with for the next 2 years, and we felt like there was a good solid relationship kind of hitting the ground running. So that's really where we leaned towards them. All 3 came with excellent references. We felt real good about all 3 of them, sticking to budget, and so that's kind of what we have in front of you tonight.
You want to talk about the cost of service, how that's set up?
Okay, so the way the cost of service is built is, and this is standard in the architecture firm, is they use a percentage of the final budget. So how that starts is we went ahead and we put some placeholders in the budget next year. So as we start this process, we will be using those dollars to make our first couple of payments off of. But once the building's built in the end, the true cost is what their fees are off of. We did take off a couple of things right up front. The testing of soil, things like that, we felt like we could handle internally, so that's not built into cost, so they don't get, you know, any of their profits aren't off of there, as well as all the interior furniture, finishes, things like that. We're going to do the purchasing on our own. We'll budget for them, but we won't, you know, allow them to take 8.75% of that. They were very comfortable with that. They said they would definitely advise and work with us on layouts and make sure rooms were set up correctly and that. But as we explained to them, we were really looking to keep that budget, you know, as tight as we could. So that's where we're at. So it does true up at the very end with the actual dollars we spend is what the actual cost will be on a percentage basis.
Questions from the trustees? Big step. Trustee Bowman?
I do. So we have secured the property?
or is that still in the works?
We've, not a handshake.
We have,
Or can
we currently have enough property to build this, what we perceive will be the size of the station on it if we need to. We're just in discussions with the property owner next door about a donation. They're agreeable, want to make it happen. The next item on the agenda, the traffic study, we need to flush out some of those numbers, but they are willing to work with us to carve off some land to donate it, so we've got a little bit more breathing room out there in the end.
Okay.
Do we know what the total cost of the project will be once it's built?
What we budgeted in capital?
We had $500,000 in this year's budget to get started, and then we had 3.325 in the multi-year
75.
capital improvement, 3.375,
For
and the
the next
multi-year
2 years.
capital improvement plan as placeholders for next year and the year following. So about $7 million total is what we have built in for placeholders.
And we use those numbers came off of, we did some budget estimates with a couple architect firms on a square footage basis, looking at a potential 4-bay, 9 sleeping arrangement station as a substation, nothing with a main office area or anything like that. So we were able to come with those numbers off of square footage estimates. Obviously, as you know, you're watching the steel markets and all that stuff play here, those could fluctuate. As we're building all along, we will keep the architect, that is one part, we always update the budget as we go through each part, so we will be able to see in today's dollars what the station will cost, so we'll know where we're at, so we can continue to cut to stay within budget. It was definitely one of the reasons we chose FGM. Talking to the other fire chiefs that have used them recently, they have come in on budget or below. None of them had an overrun, which was very important, I know, when talking to Pat and myself as we work through this project. We need to stick to what we have allotted.
So it's in the budget, or it's in the capital plan, but it would be up to the village board each year to allocate actual dollars to it before we move into contracts. And obviously, we have to figure out fund, you know, how much money we have at that time. That's the 0.5% sales tax. So we're not committed yet. We'll just have drawing. Trustee Balmas?
And in our planning, is it comparable to Station 2 now that was built, or is it going to be bigger?
A little different layout. We would probably look at a little more space for sleeping quarters, living quarters. The reason we're looking at that is when Station 1 does close temporarily for a week or two at a time, we really look at this a place to be able to sleep a few more people versus the floor of the police station. So between this and Station 2, so we're not looking for the office area space out there, but we are probably looking for a couple bedroom areas out there that would be ready to be set up in case of, you know, the flood or something like that. And then vehicle space-wise, we're looking potentially to start with one more bay than that for storage of the apparatus as well.
So it would have one more bay.
One more apparatus bay, and it would have 2 more sleeping spots in Station 2.
It's just trying to
Yeah,
relate.
you visualize. But
Yeah.
as we've looked at drawings and played with square footage, it's definitely something we've worked with David and Eric Venden, looking at our current Station 2 size and putting it on the parcel we currently completely own. It does fit, and that's kind of, to Pat, you know, your question earlier, we've definitely looked at, you know, that's as our square footage to work off of.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Ross?
And will the architectural firm be the construction manager when it starts, or are you that, and they just?
No, we would be looking at hiring a separate construction manager as our representative. We're still weighing back and forth, but we're leaning towards a construction management system versus a general contractor system. That's the direction, really seems to make sense. The biggest difference is general contractor comes in and bids the entire project. They run the whole project. You get one bid, and that's all you do. With the construction management program, each phase we go through, we bid. We get 3 plumbing bids. We pick that plumbing bid. We go through 3 roofs, so we're able to really have someone work for us, and they're able to look at, you know, more local people to be able to build this versus one big company coming and building the whole thing. So we really feel comfortable talking to all 3 architect firms. That was the direction our committee really leaned quickly towards, and they all really recommended that direction. So.
Trustee Thornton?
Oh, thanks. I was just going to say that I appreciate the update on the EMS calls in our administrator's memo. And as it says, with an increase of over 7% year over year, it certainly seems like it's a timely project to get going.
have to agree with you, and we actually feel the numbers so far this year have been a little slow with the cooler weather. We feel like it's, on the weekends here in Gurnee, it's not as busy as it has been, so we actually feel like those numbers are a little down. They're not representing quite what a warm summer would be. So.
Motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 3, approval of ordinance 2019-46, authorizing the approval of a contract with Christopher B. Burke Engineering for professional engineering services. This is an analysis of the intersection to get the traffic warrants met.
Yeah, so you approved someone to take a look at the building and that layout. Now we need to have someone take a look at the intersection. So we believe there's going to be the need for a traffic signal there, but we need an engineering firm to come in and take a look at that. So David Ziegler, our Community Development Director, reached out to 3 firms that are capable of conducting traffic warrant analysis as well as an intersection design study, solicited proposals from them, reviewed those with Chief Kavanaugh as far as everything that was included, and is recommending Christopher B. Burke, who is the low bidder. They'll come through, do all the work, submit it to the state. Depending on what comes back from the state, then they'll move to the next stage, which is the intersection design study, which will look up the layout, physical improvements that may be needed, and then cost estimates. So we'll have a number to plug in the budget if we need to. So as I said, solicited 3 bids. Christopher B. Burke was the lowest. It's the firm we've worked with in the past, been pleased with their work, so we're recommending to move forward with them.
I don't think we want a fire station without a traffic light there. And I have talked to, because this is public safety and so important to our public safety and response times, I have asked our legislators, since it's a state highway, for assistance. So we'll see how that plays out as I work with them. But this is just the engineering, which to make it, to have it considered a shovel-ready project, we have to get this done.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Thorstenson. Roll call, please.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, item number 4, we have a request from Great Wolf Lodge to talk about day pass sales, and we are honored to welcome back, after a long, extended absence of 30 years, Mr. Steve Jacobson, who will is representing Great Wolf tonight. And,
Thank you.
Steve, if you can he wants to just
Okay.
give us an update, and then we can
I feel after
discuss
30,
the-
I should like do a song or something. I don't know.
It's been a long time. You haven't changed.
Yeah. Well, Mayor and Village Board, do appreciate the opportunity tonight. And I also want to kudos to the men in blue here. I live in the neighborhood, and so I do appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you very much. What I thought I would do first is that probably it's been a while since you've gotten an update from corporate on Great Wolf. My position, I'm Vice President of Domestic Development for the U.S. and Canada, and we've got a real aggressive program, which I thought I'd just kind of briefly show you, and also kind of give you a financial update of the lodge that's in your neighborhood. This is our footprint. Hopefully you can tell the colors, red, green, and blue. Obviously the ones that are in red are the lodges that are open. There's 17 of them. We have 2 under construction, one in Manteca, California, which is just outside of Sacramento, about an hour's drive, and then one in Scottsdale, which opens up this fall. It's on the same land that the Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks play spring training. So we're excited about both of those opportunities. The one in California is a 500-room lodge resort, and the one in Scottsdale is 350 rooms. We also have about 6 in what we call different levels of development. Obviously we've got ones in the Mid-Atlantic. There's one between Baltimore and Philadelphia right now that we're looking at. We're looking at El Paso, Texas, as well as Houston and South Florida. And then we have an aggressive international program. We have land under control just outside of Mexico City, and we are looking at a piece of property in the UK. So Both the U.S. and internationally, pretty aggressive program. Give you a quick update here. So here's the 17 that are open and the 6 in pre-con. So financial update. So we are projecting the first full year of operation will more than double the revenue that was generated by the previous vendor at the location. And we expect increase of over 20 points increase in occupancy since we started. So how this kind of fits into the overall portfolio, this is in the upper half of our lodges throughout the United States, which is good. It's trending well. Some of the things that are causing that is our national marketing campaign. Prior to about a year and a half ago, basically each lodge had somewhere between $4 to $5 million worth of marketing dollars. And they pretty much just advertised in a local area. Well, you can imagine when you get into larger markets, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and so forth, $4 to $5 million doesn't go very far. So we've kind of retooled the entire marketing campaign, and now we take the 17 lodges and we pool that $4 to $5 million into one national marketing campaign so we can hit ABC, NBC, CBS, WGN, and some of the larger TV stations. And at the same time, so people in California are going to find about the Gurnee Lodge, and people in Florida are going to hear about it. People in Mexico City are going to hear about it. So that we've seen an uptick in our occupancy. And then the other thing that we've done is very aggressively going after social media, both tweeting, and we have people that go to the lodges. I mean, we have people that go to all the lodges and do all of their postings. So the push on national marketing as well as social media has really pushed our occupancy up. We also have been spending an inordinate amount of time about just improving our project scores. So I sit in these meetings every month where we're talking about, how are all the lodges doing? What do we need to improve our customer ratings and so on and so forth. One of the things I wanted to briefly talk to you about is we're doing this national campaign called Summer Campin'. And what it is we're looking to take more than just the great experience that your families will have at the lodge. The idea here is to create something else to do. And so I'm going to briefly go through, we're calling it Summer Campin', and it is a way to extend the stay, but also make it even more interesting than just today. Our mission, as we said, is to bring joy to families. Our mission is to foster family togetherness through fun and adventure in a safe environment. Summer Camp is an experience that we've put together that really celebrates the summer and everything that was around summer camp. If you remember back when you were younger and went to summer camp, all the things that you thought were fun, we're bringing that back within the lodge. Overview of the experience, we speak to the guests through a unique marketing campaign, which has already started. We play in the lodge with unique weatherproof camping. You'll see how the rooms, you can get your rooms themed to feel like a summer camp with teepees and other types of tents in the kids' rooms. We engage our pack with new exciting programming, and you'll see the themed uniforms. So we think with all of this is we're going to elevate our guest experience. So start in the morning, they call it Morning with Yoga Tales, so the kids get out and kind of gets them going early. So maybe mom and dad can kind of open their eyes and get their coffee. What we've done too is we've kind of created almost like the scouting merit badge system. And so each of the kids can earn stickers for participating in different events, but also reaching certain challenges. Some of them might have to do with exercising, some have to do with knowledge, some have to do with how to protect the environment and animals. So it's kind of a neat little program in which kids feel that not only are they enjoying the summer camp theming, but it's also a good educational tool for them to understand what's important. We kick off with the pool party with, we call it our Ducky 500. And so we put, kids get to decorate their little ducks, and we put it up at the top of the highest slide in the park, and it goes down the big drain, the big wolf tail, and it goes down the lazy river, and whatever, I think it's like the first 3 or 4 kids, whoever's duck crosses the line, they get a prize and get all kinds of neat stuff. And then we end the day with our summer camping evening and entertainment lineup. So we have geared the entertainment at night. As you know, we do the other side of the fireplaces where we have our 3D animation. We do nighttime stories and milk and cookies for kids and everything else. We also, on the other side of the fireplace, really have elevated the entertainment at night with characters and our PAC members who do all different types of summer, think of all the different summer camp songs and get-togethers and things. So kids really have a really nice time. It also allows the kids to kind of burn off whatever energy they have left so mom and dad can still get some sleep. Here's some of the pictures, so you can see the little teepee in the room and that little campfire. Actually, it's a LED light. When the room gets turned off, it glows, so the kids have their own little campfire. You can see them maybe a little bit better here. Here's the little tent teepee set up, and so dad and the kids and mom can sit down on the floor and enjoy the little campfire with the kids. Here's the PAC members, so it transforms to the PAC members themselves. So depending on where they are in the lodge, they'll be wearing the different uniforms that you see here. And we've done a lot of creative materials, so the postcards, you get the guides, there's posters that we have out in different locations. We have the digital show, as you can kind of see, the counter mat and activity sheets. And like I said earlier, we're real big now in the social media, getting out so people understand all the other things that the Great Wolf Lodge can offer versus what we've had in the past. This is one of the commercials. Hopefully it works. There should be a toolbar on the bottom, I think.
Go make new friends of all kinds. Go for the moment at Great Wolf Lodge. Explore the new summer camp in.
I can't wait.
In a forest far, far away, Honey Bunny hopped around when a hawk scooped her up and dropped her on a water slide.
Go for the bedtime routine everyone's into. Go for the moment at Great Wolf Lodge. Explore the new summer camp in.
So these would be two of the examples of the commercial we'll be playing nationally.
In a forest far.
No more forest. So that gives us an overview of how we're doing corporately, how this lodge is doing, as well as some of the things we're doing on a national marketing campaign. What I wanted to do is to kind of go through why we're here tonight, and that's to request, hopefully from you, a temporary 45-day day passes to be able to do at the lodge. There's a lot of detail to the day passes, so I want to be very deliberate in how I go through this presentation. But what I do want you to understand is that we just didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, we're going to do day passes, because we wanted to make sure the most important things that we do not adversely affect the people's experience of the families in the lodge. So what we actually did is, as you can see, starting January 14th, we actually selected 8 of our lodges, and we did it as a test pilot. And we did all kinds of things within the lodge testing this. We overburdened the lodge. We wanted to find out what happens if there's too many people, what breaks. Wanted to know what the maximum amount was, what the minimum amount was. Was it parking? Was it seating in the restaurants? Did our people not handle it properly? Did our scores go down? So we spent from January 14th almost to May 1st evaluating that whole program. And so the result of that is what we're going to present to you this evening. So the way that we went through the program here is we managed the inventory and the capacity very carefully. And the last slide, which we'll get to, is we are not looking to overburden the lodge. What we're trying to do is in the trough periods, the time during the season when we have all these people we've hired, and we'd like to keep them obviously busy and working. But we also need to be very careful about how we affect the guest experience. The other thing that's important to understand is that our peak period, our highest occupancies are June, July, and August, as well as spring break. So what we're proposing is that when we have, so let's just say this Saturday, we have 10 vacant rooms. We want to be able to sell day passes, and you'll see a multiplier of 4.4 per room for those day passes. But again, if you're from Great America's standpoint, their peak is the summer. That's where we have our highest occupancy. So the day passes that we'd be selling at their highest period would be the lowest. Our highest would be when they're not open. Again, all we're trying to do is fill in the trough periods of when the lodge is slow based on the season. Also, it's a very active, dynamic pricing package. So we are committing that the day passes would not be below $40. What we're trying to do is if there's a family of 4 or 5, we're trying to push you so you do take the room, and because we'd rather have you take the room than day passes, but we do still want to give people the ability that would like to go to the lodge to be able to do that. Some of the other things we're doing is person that buys the day passes has to be 21 years old and attend the water park, and they have a max of 4 underage people they can have at any one time. So again, we're controlling who can get the day passes. You can't just show up to the desk and get them. You have to go online. That allows us and the manager to properly evaluate and understand what the demand and inventory is. So again, really important to control both who's in the water park as well as weighing that against what our occupancy is at that point in time. So here's the things that we measure at the parking lot: front desk arrival experience and ticket pickup, admission to the water park, seating challenges, water park activities, and the slides. So, and then of course, NPS, which is our scores, which basically is what drives our business. We actually found that our NPS scores actually went up during this test period, which made us feel good, which meant that we were doing it right. We had no problems with parking because, again, our parking lots are sized for the lodge when it's fully occupied. And so the fact that we're doing this for vacant rooms, again, we saw no issues with parking because we also knew that they were coming. So if there were some issues of where employees park, we were always able to accommodate that. We have streamlined how people pick up and arrive. Most people who do the day passes come up and do the valet parking, which we do is free. And it's kind of the first checkpoint. So we ask you, are you a guest or a day pass? If they're day pass, it's kind of like, okay, is the person bringing them in 21 years of age? So it's kind of like an informal double check to make sure that people aren't trying to get in the lodge that shouldn't be. We also have, we're going to monitor, which we do now, who goes in and out of the water park. Right now we have those RFID because we want to know who's in the water park at any one time. You just can't go in and out of the water park. You'll be identified with a day pass, so we're going to know who's in the water park. We also thought, we took a look at our restaurants. We did not have any issues with our seating challenges, again, because it's based on the occupancy of the hotel. And our water park and slide activities, we had no unusual long lines or anything that would affect the customer experience by the result that our NPS scores stayed high. Sorry if this is small. But anyway, what we're asking for is a temporary 45-day authorization to be able to sell day passes from June 21st through August 5th. At the same time, we'll be going through the normal motions of planning commission and all the notices and provisions to go through and come back to you formally to get formal approval to do this. But this is a request for a temporary 45-day to do it this summer. The approval of the water park special use permit, that's just talking about when it was enacted. It's important here, so it's basically the total available inventory on any given day of the water park. Day passes available guests who are not hotel guests or attending a private function. So again, 4.4. No time would we exceed 40 more day guests, even if the hotel was fully occupied. Another thing to understand on that 4.4, which is the average occupancy kind of throughout the portfolio, the Grizzly Suites and the kids' cabin hold anywhere from 8 to 10. So the fact that we are, say there's 10 vacant rooms, that 4.4 being 44 does not even equate to how many people would actually be in the room if it was occupied. So if it was a Grizzly Suite, there could actually be 10 people in the water park. So again, that's another check and balance that we're not exceeding our capacity. Again, we've agreed to no less than $40, and there'll be basically the CPI, Consumer Price Index, every January would increase to keep that up. Again, the driving force here is not to do more day passes, to get people to take rooms and stay in our lodge. We talked about 21 years of age. The maximum ratio is adult to child 1 to 4, got to be 21 years of age. And then we talked about the access controls in the water park. And of course, we would never exceed fire code and all other occupancy requirements per the village, Gurnee, as well as the state of Illinois. So that's kind of the overview. If there's any, I know there was a lot of stuff on the criteria, but the reason I wanted to go through that detail, because it's really important to us to make sure that the experience is the best for our customer, both the day pass and the people that are going to be there overnight. So that's why the detail and the thought and the pilot program that we went through prior to doing this. So, anybody have any questions?
Go ahead, Trustee Garner, and I'll add
I
something.
do. Use a formula of 4.4 plus 30. Can you explain that or bring some clarity to?
So the 4.4, so if we had, one of the questions asked, if the hotel is fully occupied, can you sell day passes? And we're requesting that we'd be able to sell no more than those amount of day passes if the hotel is fully occupied.
Okay, but the 4.4 is 4.4 persons?
4.4 per vacant room. So
Okay.
if this Saturday our manager says, oh, we've got 10 vacant rooms, he'll start advertising online that it's 4.4 times 10 rooms. The reason we need that cushion is what they'll do. It's very dynamic pricing and monitoring. So let's just say he or she sells 5 rooms, and 5 rooms for day passes, but then somebody gobbles those other 5 rooms up. Well, then we could get caught a little bit where you've sold day passes and then somebody takes a room, and that's why we wanted the cushion to be able to put that plus 30 so that we're not in violation or anything with the village.
Thank you.
Trustee Thorstensen?
So I'm just looking at the timeline, and maybe I missed it then, but, so is this like a pre-approval in front of us tonight, since the period starts
June
in
21st.
4 days, and they're gonna go in front of zoning board?
So
in a
we
month?
will,
That's going to be a separate, this is just a temporary.
yeah, temporary.
Okay.
So there's a national campaign starting by Great Wolf, and in order to be included in, we wanted to be included in that, so we wanted to get this in front of the board quickly, but then to change the ordinances and to go through
Right.
the public hearing and the notice of the public hearing and the
And I believe
the
there's
zoning.
been a
It would be
precedent.
August, and we would kind of miss that opportunity to be part of the national campaign. So we have, for the last 15 years, done the temporary day passes. So we thought if we kind of approached it like that, and then it gives us kind of a trial run before we actually vote on it to be permanent. So that's kind of how this ended up with a temporary, just
Yep.
timing and everything. But I think it works out good. Jeannie and I were on the board when this first came forward, and we had prohibited day passes because we didn't want to compete with Six Flags. And in fairness to the board, I've had some conversations with general management at Six Flags, and they have expressed concerns that this will compete. But when we looked at it, the Great Wolf sells the most number of rooms. They have their highest occupancy the same months that Six Flags is very busy, so there'd be very few day passes available because they're very high leased. But then the other 10 months of the year, when they do have these troughs, as you call them, they can keep the park, they can keep the water park, indoor water park busy and keep their staff employed. So it made sense to us, but I do, in fairness, want to make sure the board's aware that Six Flags management expressed some concerns of this being competitive during the same season as their water park is. So
I don't think they knew all of the particulars to his or her defense. I'm sure they didn't understand the limitations we're putting on ourselves. This is not, like I said, just, we need to make sure that we do not exceed our limits.
I mean, obviously, we are, we always want to take good care of Gurnee Mills, Six Flags, and Great Wolf. They drive everything. It is the halo effect. So Pat and I were happy when we sat down with Great Wolf and heard the restrictions and thought it was a good way to kind of level things out the other 10 months of the year. And we get a tremendous amount of residents calling and wanting to go to Great Wolf for the day without having to get a hotel room. It starts opening up the opportunity for birthday parties. You know, and you add some of that in the winter, that's,
And it
there's
also,
some advantages.
is the amount, you know, we're, depending on the time of year, you know, could be 450 to 500 some employees. And this helps keep those employees employed, so because we have people coming through. So it's keeping the, you know, the local economy going and keeping people that have the, whether it's the full-time or part-time jobs working. So there's a reason to it for that as well.
2 more questions.
Trustee Garner?
One is, how many day passes per season are you expecting to sell?
Oh, wow.
Any idea?
You know what, I've not calculated. It's going to be based on our occupancy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Boy, you know what? I will have that answer for you when I come,
I'd just
come
like
back
to
in
know.
front of
I
you.
mean, I want to say thank you for the thoroughness there,
Yeah.
you know, because it makes sense. I think it makes sense, but I just wonder how many, you know.
You know what?
I mean, I want it to be good for you because it's good for us,
Yeah.
so trust me
I
in
mean,
that.
we're projecting that on sales tax alone, they did an internal projection, that it could generate over $200,000 of additional sales tax to the village just on the day passes.
I'll take it. Yeah.
That's not accounting any other thing they do with food and beverage or any of the other retails. That's just for the ticket sales is what we projected.
The other thing was, you said that you want to keep the price at $40 because, you know, when you get to 4.4, it approaches, you kind of want to push that room.
Right, exactly.
What's the cost of a room per night?
It really varies. It's a dynamic pricing. You can, in the trough period, you could actually get a room, you can get a room for $150.
Okay.
During the peak season, you might be paying, you know, over $300 for a Grizzly suite. It's really dynamic, and that's what's great about locals. People live in the local community. You just monitor that, and you get on the email system that we have, and you'll know next week. We'll push the room. If we're low that next week, you'll get a reminder in the email that says, "Hey, do you want to take your family? The room's dropped. It's $180 next Thursday or next Friday night." And so it really varies. It varies based on the time of the year and the occupancy.
So if you get 4 people, say 5 people at $40, $200.
You're going to take the room.
You're going to take the room.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what we want you to do because selfish reasons, you're going to eat more and you're going to stay longer. And
So if you take the room, the passes come with the room? That's what I'm getting at.
No, there's no additional pass. So the way it works right now is when you get a room, everybody in the room gets into the water park. That's part of the room rate.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
there's no additional
Makes
passes.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
Trustee Thorstensen?
I was just going to say, I'm really looking forward to the, I'll call it test or trial. I hope it's wildly successful, and to Mayor's point, we all have seen a lot of social media interest in day passes, so I hope it's a win-win.
Yep.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good job. You haven't lost your touch. All right, item number 5, approval of the police department's recommendation to purchase emergency medical dispatch Pro QA software and required computer-aided dispatch integration at a one-time total cost of $124,452 and annual reoccurring maintenance costs of $13,700. Christopher's here.
Sure. So we've got, Chief Smith's here, Phil Burnell, our communications supervisor, and then Chris from the JetSpeed perspective, IS perspective. This is something we talked about a lot through the budget process. It is included in the approved budget. So as you know, all of our communications operators are EMD certified. So this allows them to give the caller instructions on the phone as far as treating the patient until responding police or fire units show up. We have been using a system that is on manual card sets, so those can be cumbersome. On occasion, mistakes can be made if a card is skipped or a direction is missed. And then they also require the call taker to go back in and manually update CAD incident with the information they received verbally, which can cause a delay in as far as handling other tasks. So the police department took a look at this as far as how we could improve that service as well as efficiency in the department, and came across the Pro QA software. It's basically moving it from a hard copy paper booklet to software-based. So as they ask questions, the software, I guess, is intuitive, so to say. It'll guide them in the right direction.
Kind of like Siri for 911.
A little bit. So obviously, continue to have the comms operators ask the appropriate questions, reduce the human error, and then also helps as far as entering that information in where they don't have to go back and do it manually. So received a quote on the Pro QA of $91,422. So that's the initial software installation, the license for all the positions that we need, training and maintenance. And then obviously it needs to integrate with our computer-aided dispatch system. So worked with our CAD vendor and got an integration quote for $29,010. So that's your $124,452. Then ongoing maintenance costs for Pro QA is $10,000 a year, and then the CAD maintenance is $3,700. So this is a cost that's reimbursable by the JETSB. So the JETSB considered the request on May 14th and voted unanimously to approve it. So it'll be something that the village will be making the initial purchase and then working through the reimbursement process through the JETSB. So as I said, it's something the communications department is excited about, should improve customer service, improve efficiencies within the comm center, and was included in the approved budget, so the appropriate funding is there.
Does the maintenance include regular updates to the medical protocols and stuff? Okay. For the record, I had head shakes from staff. All right, questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
moved.
Motion by trustee Bomas, second by trustee Ross. Roll call, please, Andy.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood. Yes. Thorstensen.
Yes.
5-0.
All right, motion carries. This is very smart. All right, I will open, that's the end of our new business. I will open the floor to the public. Anybody would like to address the board? All right, do I have a motion to
So moved.
adjourn?
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned.